Good evening and welcome everyone to Nurture Life Bangladesh very first workshop in partnered with Dhaka University Health Express on one of the most appropriate topic according to the present situation of our country, enhancing well-being during COVID-19 pandemic. I am Anya Scholastica Azim, Human Resource Manager of Nurture Life Bangladesh, and I will be hosting today's workshop along with two other co-hosts, Mr. Jayanta Dash Gupta, Program Coordinator, and Mr. Reza Rabbi, Country Head of Nurture Life Bangladesh. Today's workshop is organized by Nurture Life Bangladesh in partnered with Dhaka University Health Express. Nurture Life is a non-profit international organization founded by Farah Sarosh ma'am. It has been established with the aim of helping people to get solutions regarding mental health issues, to spread mental health and suicide awareness among people, and also to increase mental health literacy worldwide. Although Nurture Life is based in Lucknow, India, it has expanded its network to other parts of the world, such as in Romania, Oman, USA, KSA, Nepal, and recently it has started its journey in Bangladesh. Nurture Life is also a movement through which we want people to come out, break their silence, and talk about their mental health issues openly in spite of considering it a taboo. We are working to break the superstitious mentality that has been around mental health since eons. Through Nurture Life, we want to make sure that if anybody is going through some negativity or struggling with mental health issues in their lives, may not feel that they're alone in this journey and to assure them that there is always a ray of hope in life. Now, let me talk about Dhaka University Health Express. It is basically a student-based platform in which works for the betterment of the students of Dhaka University. Dhaka University Health Express is established by Mr. Julius Caesar Talukdar with the aim of ensuring better health for Dhaka University students. So before starting the workshop, I would like to share some instructions that has to be followed during workshop. This is an interactive session and all of you will be allowed to ask questions. No disturbances should be created during workshop. If anybody found creating disturbances will be blocked and no participation certificate will be provided. Certificate only will be issued if you attend the full workshop. Now, I would like to introduce the honorable speaker of today's workshop, Dr. Manoj Kumar Pandey. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Dr.
Thank
Manoj
you,
Kumar
ma'am.
Pandey is an assistant professor in Department of Applied Psychology at Veer Bahadur Singh Purvachal University, Jaunpur, India. He has more than 6 years of teaching experiences in different renowned institutes and universities such as Bahadur Singh Purvachal University, Jaunpur, Central University of Allahabad, Sam Higginbotham University of Agriculture, Technology and Science, MS University, Vadodara, Indian Institute of Psychology, Noida, and Makhanlal Chaturvedi National University of Journalism and Communication, Noida campus. He has more than 24 research articles and 6 book chapters publications in reputed national and international journals on different psychosocial issues and paradigms of society. Until now, he has the experience of attending and presenting more than 25 paper presentations in various national and international conferences. Now, I'm requesting Dr. Manoj Kumar Pandey, sir, to start the session. It's over to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Uh, you too. Thank you, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Audible.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank Mrs. Farah Saros, the founder of Nurture Life India, and my friend Dr. Jain Namundrishwar for inviting me in this interactive uh, international interactive session with the international communities and to share my knowledge and skills to them. I would like to also thank to the organizing team of Nurture Life Dhaka chapter, especially Mr. Muhammad Raza A. Rabi, head Nurture Life Bangladesh, Mr. Asikur Rahman, program manager, and Julius Caesar Talukdar, founder, Dhaka University Health Express. Thank you, sir, for inviting me and interact with the and international communities, basically the students. As such, my today topic is enhancing well-being during the COVID-19 pandemic. Sir, my slide is visible.
Yes, sir.
Hello,
Yes, yes. Visible, sir.
my slide is visible. Okay,
Yes,
sir, yes,
visible, sir.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. The overview of the lecture is the COVID-19 pandemic. I will give a brief overview about it and its impact on the humanities, as well as I will talk about a vulnerability theory that explain the current situations and how we can enhance our well-being in this pandemic time or enhancing our lives and well-being. In this row, I will also discuss what is the well-being, the definitions and determinants, also the different domains or the component of well-being. What benefits we get from having a good well-being, we'll discuss. And the most important thing is that how we can develop our well-being skill and strategies, we'll talk about. Then the positive step for uplifting, improving our well-being. And at last, we will discuss some more effective techniques or strategies to enhance our well-being. Now, as COVID-19 pandemic, it is not just a medical phenomena. It affects individual and the society and causes disruptions, anxiety, stress, stigma, xenophobia. Xenophobia is kind of fear that is perceived the foreigner or stranger. The behavior of an individual as a unit of society or community has marked effect on dynamics of a pandemic that involve the level of severity, degree of loss, and after effect. It means how much we will get affected, the severity, the degree of loss, and after effect, it will depend on how we interact to the other person. As we note that the rapid human-to-human transmission of the COVID-19 resulted in the enforcement of regional lockdowns to stem the further spread of the disease and isolation. And government start introducing some strategies like social isolation, social distancing, closure of educational institutions, workplace, entertainment venues, consigned people to stay in their home to help break the chain of transmission. And as a result, we found the quarantine and self-isolation, it can most likely cause a negative impact on one's mental health. A review published by the journal in this field, The Lancet, that said that the separation from loved one, loss of freedom, boredom, and uncertainty can cause a deterioration in an individual mental health status. Hence, uncertain prognosis, severe shortage of resources for testing and treatment, and for protecting respondents and healthcare providers from infections, imposing of unfamiliar public health measures that infringe on personal freedom, large and growing financial losses we have, and conflicting messages from authorities. Sometimes the World Health Organization say that these things are very good for stopping the spreading the COVID-19 pandemic. Some messages come from either from WHO or the government time to time, and that create major stresses for us that undoubtedly will contribute to widespread emotional distress and increase risk for psychiatric illness associated with COVID-19. These public health emergencies may affect the health, safety, and well-being of both individuals as well as the communities. At individual level, it causing insecurity, confusion, emotional isolation, and stigma. And at community level, it owing to economic loss, work and school closure, inadequate resources for medical responses, and deficient distribution of necessary things. This effect may translate into range of emotional reactions such as distress or psychiatric conditions, unhealthy behavior such as excessive substance abuse uses or addictions towards the digital gadget, and non-compliance with the public health directives such as home confinement and vaccinations. In people who contracted the disease and in the general population. Extensive researches in disaster mental health has established that emotional distress is ubiquitous in affected population, a finding certain to be echoed in populations affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Some group may be more vulnerable than other to the psychosocial effect of pandemic. In particular, people who contracted the disease, those at heightened risk for it, including the elderly, people with compromised immune functions, and those living or receiving care in congregate settings, and people with pre-existing medical, psychiatric, or substance use problems are at increased risk for adverse psychosocial outcomes. Under the current global situation, yes, okay. Under the current global situation, both children and adults are experiencing a mix of emotions. They can be placed in a situation or an environment that may be new and can be potentially damaging to their health. Children away from their schools, friends, colleagues, staying at home can many questions about the outbreak, and they look towards their parents or caregiver to get the answers when they will get normal life. Not all children and parents respond to stress in the same way. Kids can experience anxiety, distress, social isolation, and an abusive environment that can be short or long-term effect on their mental health. Some common changes in child behavior that is excessive crying and annoying behavior, increased sadness, depression or worry, difficulties with concentration and attention, changes in or avoiding activities that they enjoy in the past, like playing with their friends, outdoor games, unexpected headache and pain throughout their bodies, changes in their eating behavior. As a result, some of them get the sign of mental illness. So you can assess too that you are getting some sign of mental illness or not if just considering the previous 2 months or 3 months, and if you are feeling very sad or withdrawal from more than 2 weeks, trying to harm or end one's life or making plans to do so, severe out of control risk-taking behavior that causes harm to self or others, sudden overwhelming fear for no reason, sometimes with a racing heart, physical discomfort or difficult breathing, significant weight loss or gain. These are some of the signs that you are getting some kind of mental illness or symptoms of mental illness. Other are seeing, hearing or believing things that are not real, excessive use of alcohol or drugs, or dependence on the other addictive things like mobile, technology, TV, whatever, drastic changes in mood, behavior, personality or sleeping habits, extreme difficulties in concentrating or staying still, intense worries or fear that get in the way of daily activities. And here there's a theory that can explain today's condition. The triple vulnerability theory. It is given by Barlow D.H. in 2002. It talks about the one is biological vulnerability, second is specific psychological vulnerability, and third one is generalized psychological vulnerability. As you can see that biological vulnerability talks about the heritable contribution to the negative effect. Is there any connections between our biological heredity or biological factors to these situations? If we have tendency towards lack of if we have tendency towards lack of self-confidence, low self-esteem, inability to cope, this shows it is because of the biological vulnerability. Second is the specific psychological vulnerability, that is physical sensations are potentially dangerous. such as anxiety about health, non-clinical panic attacks. Third one is generalized psychological vulnerability. It is a sense that events are uncontrollable and unpredictable, and people start thinking like glass is half empty. They are just moving towards the pessimistic approach of life, and in that they just see the glass is half empty, irritable and driven. Yeah, there are some sign of that we have getting some mental illness, or we have some mental problems. We tend to struggle with making decisions, hate letting people down, feel a lot of guilt when talking at taking care of yourself, feel taking advantage by someone, say yes more than yes, say yes more than you say no, avoid speaking up even when you feeling are hurt, give away too much of your time, feel burnout, with others even when you don't think you should, feel responsible for the happiness of the others. And if we are feeling such kind of signs, then there is some step to that we can change it. First is recognize whether your boundaries are lacking. We need to find out our boundaries, where it is lacking, where it's in. Think about your needs, desires, and write them on a paper. Start thinking about it. Start making decisions without the nudging of others. Practicing saying no a lot while talking with others. Practicing say no. If you don't want to do anything, just say no. Even in spite of saying yes. Eliminate toxic situations and people. Fill your time with self-nourishing activities. Feel support people that are not controlling or manipulating. Seek help. Therapy can help you practice boundary setting up skills and understand why this is an issue for you. Now, Director General of World Health Organizations has said that good mental health is absolutely fundamental to overall health and well-being. Therefore, how we can enhance our well-being in this pandemic time? This is our topic of today. Enhancing our lives and well-being. Before starting, I just want to give a brief overview about the well-being and its different dimensions. There is no common consensus around a single definition of well-being, but there is a general agreement that at minimum, well-being includes the presence of positive emotions and moods, that is contentment, happiness, the absence of negative emotions, that is depression, anxiety, satisfaction with life, fulfillment, and positive functioning, that is feeling very healthy and full of energy. It is a complex combination of a person's physical, emotional, mental, and social factors, and it is strongly linked to the person's happiness. It is how you feel about yourself and your life as a whole. Some good living conditions, that is housing, employment, social status, are fundamental to well-being. WHO has described it well-being as a resource for healthy living and positive state of health that is more than absence of an illness and enable us to function well psychologically, physically, emotionally, and socially. What is the meaning of good functioning? If we can help others, if we can connect to others, if we are very active in our life, keep learning to new things, be aware about our surroundings, then it shows that we have a good well-being. What does it mean by the optimum mental well-being? It shows when a person who experiences a high level of mental well-being despite being diagnosed with mental illness. Example, a person who has a high level of mental well-being and who has no mental illness, it shows the optimal mental well-being. Maximum mental illness. A person experiences mental illness who has a low level of mental well-being. And minimum mental illness, a person who has no diagnosable mental illness who has a low level of mental well-being. Here, well-being doesn't mean that you never experience feeling or situations that you find difficult, but it does mean that you feel you can cope with tough time. It is important to understand that well-being or being well as something you do rather than something you are. The finding and the things we do and the way we think can have a big impact on our experiences. The following areas have been examined by different disciplines and includes 6 of the dimensions wellness categories. That is physical well-being, economic well-being, social well-being, development and activities, emotional well-being, psychological well-being, life satisfaction, domain-specific satisfaction. It means either work-related satisfaction, family-related satisfactions. If you are students, then college life-related satisfactions. That is engaging activities and work. What are the different determinants of individual level of well-being? There's no sole determinants of individual well-being, but in general, well-being is dependent upon good health. Then, if you have a good health, positive social relations with others, and availability and access to basic resources, that is shelter, income, then you are in a your well-being is in a good condition. Life satisfaction is dependent more closely on availability of basic needs, that is food, shelter, income, as well as access to modern convenience, that is electricity and internet too. Pleasant emotions are more closely associated with having supportive relationship. Having supportive relationships is one of the strongest predictor of well-being, having a notable positive effect. Well-being is an outcome that is meaningful to the public. Results from cross-sectional longitudinal experimental studies find that well-being is associated with self-perceived health, longevity, health behavior, mental and physical illness, social connectedness, productivity, factors in the physical and social environment. It's not. What are some factors that can enhance our well-being? Factors that leads to enhance our well-being, that is happy and healthy, intimate or interpersonal relationship with others, network of close friends, regular exercise, nutritional diet, optimistic outlook or approach towards life, good physical health, that is no illness or no disease. Factors that can lead to a poor well-being, that is unhealthy, unhappy, intimate, interpersonal relationship with other, no close friend, living in alone, poor nutritional foods, little or no exercise, poor self-esteem, illness, disease, physically or mentally, using alcohol or substance abuse, and any other addictions such as digital, maybe mobile, internet, other addictions, such kind of addictions. Hence, we will put some brief overview about the different type of well-being. The first one is psychological well-being. It includes a number of different aspects. First is autonomy. Second is self-acceptance. Third is mastery. Fourth is positive relationship. Fifth is a sense of purpose or meaning in life. Sixth is personal growth. That is facing challenges that are manageable and lead to developing new skills or becoming a better person. The second one is emotional well-being, the ability to practice stress management and relaxation techniques, be resilient, boost self-love and care, and generate the emotions that lead to good feeling. Third one is physical well-being, the ability to improve the function of your body through healthy living and good exercise habits. Fourth one is the social well-being, the ability to communicate, develop meaningful relationship with others, and maintain a support network and that help you overcome your loneliness. Another one is societal well-being, the ability to actively participate in a thriving community, culture, or environmental setup. Fourth one, the next one is spiritual well-being. It includes feeling connected to a higher power or having a faith in a uh, supernatural powers or in God, in such kind of the things. A sense of meaning or purpose of feeling, a sense of meaning in our life or purpose or feeling of peace or transcendence. Another is workplace well-being, the ability to pursue your interest, value, and life purpose in order to gain meaning, happiness, and enrich professionally at your workplace. And this is the new type of well-being, that is digital well-being. Normally it is a state of personal well-being experienced through the healthy use of digital technology. How healthy we are using the digital technology that we have. It is a state where subjective well-being is maintained in an environment characterized over boundaries. Within a condition of digital well-being, individuals are able to channel digital media usage towards a sense of comfort, safety, satisfaction, and fulfillment. And if people are using such in a way that they have a good digital well-being, digital well-being consider the impact of technology and digital services on people, mental, physical, and emotional health. And as per the Google, digital well-being is about crafting and maintaining a healthy relationship with technology. It's about how technology serve us and move us towards our goal rather than distracting us, interrupting us, or getting in the way. Being in control of the technology enable us to use its full potential and gain all the benefit of it. Here's the different domains of well-being, and it start talking about some factors. One is identity, second is security, third is meaning, fourth is joy, then growth, autonomy, and connectedness. They are the different factors that is a part of our well-being, that construct our well-being. Now, what is the benefit of well-being? Having a good well-being. The plenty of research studies have proven well-being doesn't feel good. It is important for happier, healthier living, such as optimism and positive emotions can reduce the risk of a heart attack by up to 50%. And optimism can be learned. Experiencing 3 times more positive emotions compared to negative ones lead to a tipping point beyond which we become more resilient to adversity and better able to achieve things in our life. Happier people live longer, potentially adding 7.5 years to their lifespan. Our expression of positive emotions such as happiness and optimism influence the people we know, and studies show our positivity can be passed on to others. Having high level of well-being has been shown to increase our immunity to infections, lower our risk of some mental health problems, reduce mental decline as we get older and increase our. A high level of well-being is an good for heart health and provide as much protection from coronary heart disease as quitting smoking does. Researchers has also shown that people who report higher level of well-being tend to be more involved in social activities and community group, environmentally responsible and friendly, experiencing better family and social relationship at home, more productive at work, more likely to be working or studying full-time, more likely to recover quicker from a range of chronic diseases such as diabetes, heart attack, and other things. And in young people, higher level of well-being significantly influence alcohol, tobacco, and cannabis use. Evidence suggests that the whole population can benefit from being active to or maintain their psychological well-being. Then now in third section, how we can develop our well-being, the different kind of well-being. So first we start with the developing our emotional well-being. To develop emotional well-being, we need to build emotional skills, such as skills like positivity in our life, emotional regulations, how can we regulate our emotions, and mindfulness. For example, often we need to build a variety of these skills to cope up with the wide variety of situations we encounter in our life. When we have built these emotional well-being skills, we can better cope up with stress, handle our emotions in the face of challenges, and quickly recover from disappointments. As a result, we can enjoy our life a bit more, be happier, and pursue our goal a bit more effectively. Here are some of the skills that researchers suggest contribute to emotional well-being: happiness skills, mindfulness skill, positive thinking or outlook skills, resilience skills. Second one is developing our physical well-being. To develop our physical well-being, we need to know what is healthy diet and exercise routine look like, so that we can implement effective strategies in our daily life. When we improve our physical well-being, not only we do better, our newfound health can also help prevent many diseases, heal our guts, boost our emotional well-being, and limit the number of health challenges we have to deal with our life. Here are some of the things that can help to boost up our physical well-being. That is eating for health, detoxing your body, correcting nutritional deficiency, removing plastic from our home, or we can overrun ourselves with toxins from plastic or processed food. As a result, we may need to eat additional food, detox our body, or prevent these toxins from entering our bodies again. This is why it is essential to learn about health so that we can make the right change, those that lead to long-term health and well-being. Third one is developing our social well-being. To develop our social well-being, we need to build our social skills like gratitude towards others, kindness to others, and a proper communication with others. Social skills make it easier for us to have positive interaction with others, helping us to feel less lonely, angry, or disconnected with others. When we have developed our social well-being, we feel more meaningful connected to others. Here are some of the skills that research suggested contributing to better social well-being. First one is practicing gratitude. For example, with a gratitude journal. Gratitude towards others, building meaningful social connections with others, managing our relationship with technology. It's important to know that building social well-being is one of the best way to build emotional well-being. Then, if you have a better social well-being, you have also a better emotional well-being. When we feel socially connected, we also tend to just feel better, have more positive emotions, and we are able to cope better with challenges. This is why it is essential to build our social well-being. Developing our workplace well-being. To develop our workplace well-being, we need to build skills that help us pursue what really matters to us. This can include building professional skills which help us to meet our life goals and help us manifest things. But it is also include things like living our values and maintaining work-life balance. These skills let us enjoy our work more, help us to stay focused, motivated, and successful at work. When we have developed workplace well-being, our work and therefore each day feel more meaningful. And here are some of the key skills. Maintaining work-life balance is the key skills that we need to have. Finding your purpose, why you are here, what do you want to do? Because we spend so much time at work, building our workplace well-being has a big impact on our overall well-being. Developing our societal well-being. To develop societal well-being, we need to build the skills that make us feel interconnected with all things. We need to know how to support our environment, build stronger local communities, and foster a culture of compassion, fairness, and kindness. These skills help us feel like we are part of thriving communities that really support one another and the world at large. When we cultivate societal well-being, we feel like we are a part of something bigger than just ourselves and live happily. Although each of us only make us a teeny fraction of society, being an individual, we can't do any much bigger than, but it takes all of us to create societal well-being. If each of us did one kind act for someone else in our community, then we would live in a very kind community. Or if all of us decided we are going to recycle, then suddenly we create a world with significantly less waste. In order to live in a healthy society, we too need to contribute in making a healthy society. Here are some of the skills. Living your values. Don't live up your values. Creating a plastic-free home or society or environment, making positive impact in other people's by your kindness, by your behavior, by your act, and be kindful with others. This is also a way to how to build our community well-being. First is community conditions. It depends on the community condition, people how we relate, place where we are living, power having influence. Second one is intervention, that policies and other ground interventions regarding to affecting the community well-being or community life or quality of life. Mechanism of change, what are the mechanisms the community is using? Widening participation and governance, enhancing social network, improving life conditions, intermediate outcomes, improved community conditions of people, place, and power, and individual benefits. And it has a long-term outcome, community well-being and individual well-being. Student well-being. Most of us are student in this lecture. How we can enhance our student well-being? Engaging them in a curriculum that is suitable for them, provide a supporting environment to them, community awareness, access to services, mental health knowledge and skills. If they have achieved these things in their life, they have a good student well-being. Now, there are some positive steps for uplifting our well-being. First is be kind to yourself. As our culture, genes, religion, upbringings and education, gender, sexuality, beliefs and life experiences make us who are we. We all have bad days. Be kind to yourself. Encourage rather than criticize yourself. Treat yourself the way you would treat a friend in the same situation. Second is take up a hobby and or learn new skills. Increase your confidence and interest. Meet others or prepare for finding works. Third one is helping others. Get involved with a community project, charity work, or simply help out someone you know. As well as benefiting others, you will be doing something worthwhile, which will help you feel better about yourself. Third one is next one is eat healthy. Eat regularly, eat breakfast, eat healthy, eat fruit and vegetables, drink waters, and don't eat unhealthy foods like fast foods. Again, the connect with others. As we earlier talked, stay in touch with the family and friends, make regular and frequent contact with them. In these pandemic situations, this is not happened because of the restrictions by the government, but we can keep in touch with the family and friends by virtual medium. We can talk to them. We can regularly meet with them on virtual platform. See the bigger pictures. We all give different meaning to situations and see things from our point of view. Broaden our perspectives and consider the bigger pictures, the helicopter view. Always see the bigger pictures. Whenever we find in our life, that always see the things in a just a spectacle view, limited view. Don't do such things. Always see the bigger pictures as a whole. What meaning I am giving this? Is this fact or opinion? How would others see it? Is there another way of looking at this? How important is it, or will it be in a year time? What can I do right now that will help most? Exercise regularly. Being active help lift our mood, reduce stress and anxiety, improve physical health and give us more energy. Get outside, preferably in a green space or near water. Find an activity you enjoy doing and just do it. Have some fun and or be creative. Having fun or being creative help us feel better and increase our confidence. Enjoy ourselves. Relax. Make time for ourselves. Allow yourself to chill out and relax. Find something that suits you. Different things work for different people. Breathe, imagine a balloon in your belly, inflating and deflating as you breathe and in and out. Balance sleep. Get into the healthy sleep routine. Include going to bed and getting up at the same time each day. It means that suppose that you are going to sleep around 10 o'clock, then just get up around 6 o'clock. Our ancestor, our grandparents always say that it's better to get early to bed and early to rise. Beware drink and drugs. Avoid using alcohol or non-prescribed drugs to help you cope. It will only add it to your problems. Accepting it is as it is. We tend to fight against distressing thought and feeling, but we can learn to just notice them and give up that struggle. Some situation we just can't change. We can solve those waves rather than try to stop them. Allow those thoughts and sensation just to be. They will pass. There are other things. Tips to improve our well-being and quality of life. Take proper sleep, as we already discussed. Eat a balanced diet already. Expose your body to sunlight. Vitamin D deficiency leads to several problems such as seasonal affective disorder are said. When you are exposed to sunlight, it causes the release of endorphin, also called happiness hormone, that is responsible for the productivity of the brain. So take some time out of your routine and spend some time in sunlight, but make sure you wear sunblock or prevent sunburn. Deal with stress. Although it is difficult to avoid stress nowadays, however, it is definitely possible to deal with it. It is very important to learn the deal with the stress in a smart and effective way. For that, try to avoid the situation that cause stress. If your stress is unmanageable, note down the cause of stress as well as what action can you take to improve your reactions, mood, and even situation. And if you are unable to again manage your stress, then just consult with some professionals, either psychologist, psychiatric. Exercise daily, already done. Stay away from smoking, alcohol, we already discussed. Be social as much as you can. Isolation and lack of communication are the two biggest reasons for depression, mental and physical illness. No matter how busy your family and work life is, Try to dedicate some time to your friends and socialize with them. A man cannot stay healthy without interacting with other people. Communicating with other others lower the stress level. If you have heard of laughter therapy, it is also has the same purpose to reduce the stress in which you laugh with other people. Everyone needs to acceptance and friendship that is fulfilled only when you socialize with others. Find and practice new hobbies. Hobbies help us to keep us busy and engaged. When you have an interest in some activities and enjoy doing either gardening, either playing, or anything that you enjoy, you take healthy steps to improve your emotional well-being. It also keeps to work and daily life pressures of your brain. Finding new hobbies is great for strengthening your brain and boost your mood. Learn to live in the present. That is very important. The biggest reason for experiencing mood swing, depression, and anxiety are when a person remains stuck in past events. Negative self-talking, such as why people do did this to me, still not only the happiness, but make the person miss opportunity that the present moment tried to offer. Learn to live in present moment and try not to think too much about the future. It is simple, laugh and enjoy. Don't take life too seriously. Those who remain happy smile more and try to keep themselves happy experience better quality of life than those who remain worried all the time. According to a study, children laugh 200 times a day while adults laugh 15 times a day. Staying happy and laughing more is essential for a quality of life. Here, some of the specific strategies that can help us to build our emotional well-being or wellness. First one is the wellness coaching. Wellness coaching is connecting with a coach that support your growth, creating action steps that inspire change among you, tailored to your wellness needs and vision, defining your actions plan and incorporating strategies to achieve this, a pathway to jump start healthy habits. Health and wellness coaching also includes resources just give me 2 minutes. There's some technical error. Only 1 or 2 minutes. Is it visible? Hello? Hello?
Sir, till fourth point is visible.
Visible, na?
No, not fully. In 12th chapter,
I
also
think
say 1, 2, 3, 4.
this slide is not visible for
Not fully.
me.
Not fully.
Yes. No problem. I will say.
Dr. Manoj, can
The
you
other
please
thing
make
is that
do it full screen?
the self-care. It has 12 steps. Hello? Ma'am, I don't know
Yeah,
why
Dr.
it's
Manoj,
not showing full play. Yes, ma'am.
full screen, full screen.
Okay. Full screen. Not again. It's not showing. I don't know.
It will show now.
No, especially this slide.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Sir, it's okay. You can continue.
Okay. The other strategy is self-care, and it has 12 steps to self-care. First is, if it is feel wrong, don't do it. Anything that is that you are feeling that it's wrong, then don't do such kind of things. Say exactly what you mean to others. Don't be a people pleaser. Trust your instincts. Never speak bad about yourself. Never give up on your dreams. Don't be afraid to say no to others. Don't be afraid to say yes to anyone. Be kind to yourself. Let go of what you can't control. Stay away from drama and negativity. The next one is meditations or yoga. How it can affect our well-being or increase our emotional well-being as well as increase our quality of life. It has several benefits.
I think our guest is having some network difficulties. Let's wait for him. Have patience, please.
Sorry for interruption again. Maybe some network issues.
Sir, I think you can turn off your video. Then it will be helpful for you to provide lecture, as you are having a network issue.
Okay. Now it's visible. Hello.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes,
Is it
sir. It's
visible?
clear.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. It's
visible.
Okay.
clear.
Yes.
Okay. Then practicing meditation or yoga in our life, it have several benefits at physical level, mental level, or emotional level. At physical level, it can improve our sleeping habits, more hours, and deeper sleep. Reduce our blood pressures, improve our immune system, decrease the tension related problem like ulcer and headache, improve breathing and heart rate, elevated energy level, improve metabolism, help lose weight, produce more serotonin, lessen inflammatory disorders and asthma, lessen muscles and joint pain, reduce aging, and it helps reduce substance abuse. At mental level, it has several benefits. It increases our focus and mental acuity. It increases memory, retention, and recall, better decision making and problem solving ability among us, better and faster information processing, help manage ADHD and ADD. It helps us to decrease anxiety, impulsive, and depression symptoms. It increases relaxation and awareness among us, more mental power during the day, better communications, better cognitive skills, and creative thinking. It reduces symptoms of panic disorders, and it enhances the generation of gamma waves in the brain. At emotional level, it enhances our self-esteem and self-acceptance, less fear, loneliness, depression, and anxiety, increased optimism, better outlook on life, increased feeling of connectedness with others. It helps prevent emotional eating and smoking, improve resilience against pain and adversity, more well-being, emotional maturity, and improve mood and emotional intelligence. Now, the next one is, we always talk about the physical immunities. Now we are talking about the psychological immunity, how we can build our psychological immunity. There are several ways. One is, choose a thought of positive belief and hope of survival over a negative one. Second, stick to the thought and keep it in your conscious awareness constantly. Third, collect authentic information that supports the positive beliefs among you. These are the way to build psychological immunity among you. The next one is cognitive reframing, especially in this this pandemic situation. We can reframe such things as 2020 is the worst, hardest year ever. This is the negative side. We can reframe it as 2020 is giving me an opportunity to evolve myself, either at student level, either at job level, either any level, professional or personal level. These challenges are just too hard. It can be reframed as, I am learning how strong and brave I am really am. Third one is, everything is so out of my control. We can reframe it, I never did have control over the world. I choose to focus on what I can control. The next one is, I just want things to go back to the normal. It can be reframed like, normal wasn't working. This is a moment to rebuild our world for the better next time. And last one is, the I should be better at coping with this. It can be reframed, I am doing my best in a very hard time. There are several ways for practicing mindfulness in our everyday life, and practicing mindfulness is very useful for our emotional as well as other well-being, enhancing our other well-being. Take 5 deep mindful breaths to bring your attention to the present. It is a practice we need to do. When getting up in the morning, remind yourself to be kind to others, either your family members, either your spouse, either your children, and yourself too. Thanks your body while showering every day for supporting you. We should thankful to our body. Write your own intentions of the day, every day morning, what you want to do in today, in the whole day. You need to write. Take 1 hour break from social media and technology every day. It's very tough, but we need to practice it. Give ourselves warm hugs with a hot cuppa once a day. Means who is your loved one? Maybe your children, maybe your spouse, maybe your friends. You just give a hug. The next one is the emotional freedom technique, EFT. As we can see that it starts from top of the head and later on third eyes point. We just need to do what start and finish by placing both hands flat on the center of our chest and take a 3 deep breath in and out, and just feel the center of your point is top of the head. Next, third eye point, eyebrow point, corner of the eyes, under nose, under mouth, under collarbone, finger points, our thumb, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, little finger, like this. Karate chop point, and just put your hand like in this position. It really helpful for our emotional regulations. And the last one is, we always need to find purpose and meaning in our life. Everyone derive meaning and purpose in different ways that involve benefiting others as well as yourself. You may think of it as way to feel needed, feel good about yourself, a purpose that drives you on, or simply a reason to get out of bed in the morning. In biological terms, finding meaning and purpose in our life is essential to brain health, as it can help generate new cells and create new neural pathway in the brain. It can also strengthen our immune system, elevate pain, relieve stress, and keep you motivated to pursue the other steps to improve mental and emotional health. However, your drives meaning and purpose in life, it is important to do it every day in our life. And this is all about from me. Thank you for hearing me. And I love to hear your questions. I like to answer your queries and questions.
Hello all, this is Jayanta
Yes, sir.
Dashgupta. Hello.
Yes, sir. And so you can stop the slide.
Hello everyone, this is Jayanta Dashgupta, working as a coordinator of Nurture Life Dhaka chapter. And thank you so much, Mr. Manoj Pandey, for your wonderful presentation. I would like to request all of our participants, if you have any question, you can ask to our facilitator. And if you want to write it down, then please use your chat box. Beside that, I will provide our feedback form, which you have to provide us within tonight. So thank you so much. And if you want to make, if you want to have any, if you want to ask any question, just say it. Thank you.
Hello, sir. Am I audible? Sir Manoj, can you hear me?
No, sir is left due to technical issue, maybe.
Oh, okay. He's not here.
Not visible.
You can put your question. You can put your question. We are here to answer on his behalf in the meantime.
Ma'am, I was hoping to ask him by myself, actually.
Then wait for some time. Then wait for some
Okay.
time. He'll be joining back.
Today is sir's birthday.
Then sir, please check with Manoj sir what is the problem.
Yeah.
Sir is trying to connect with us. In the meantime, I have something to say. If anyone of you wants to ask questions in Bangla, you can ask questions in Bangla and we can translate it to him. So you are able to ask questions in Bangla or write it in the chat box. Thank you.
Manager sir will join very soon. Some technical issue affected.
We have provided a feedback link in the chat box. All of you are requested to go through it and provide your valuable feedback. And this is our first workshop, and we will try to consider all of your feedback in our upcoming workshops. Thank you all. So please, all of you are requested to go through that feedback form. It is on the comment box.
So you can ask Manoj sir to join from phone now. If he's on the laptop, you can ask him to join from phone.
Okay. Yes, sir, joined. Manoj sir?
Yes.
Okay.
Have I finished my slides?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry for interruption again. So I don't know why it's happening. But now this is time to question and answers. Whatever you have doubts and questions, you can ask. Hello.
Sir, I have a question regarding
Yes.
the cognitive reframing issue, that if I want to help a child to reframe his or her cognition, that he or she was in a he or she is in a situation where the child has lost both of the parents.
Can I repeat you once again?
Yeah, sir. I was asking that if I want to help a child to reframe his or her cognition, that he is in a situation where he has lost both of his parents, then in that situation, how should I help him to reframe his cognition?
In that, we can say that suppose that the child, maybe I don't know what is the age of the child. Suppose that his age is quite enough to get understand that what is really happened, and if he can assess that the things that is really happened, then it is easy to to change his cognitive mindset regarding that he has lost his parents. And in that situation, if he can understand his age is, I think maybe he's an adult or maybe adolescence, or maybe his age is quite mature, or maybe he's I think in 10 to 12 years or 14 or 15 years, it is easy to make him understand that the situation is very worse, and this kind of the things is no, we can not only, there are several things, it is a very crisis situation for him. And in these situations, we need to maybe take some sessions for to change his cognitions regarding it. It is not only just talking about him. Maybe there are several sessions it need, because it's just losing their parents, either mom and dad both, is very critical to anybody.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So
Then
what
it will take, yes.
positive facts should I just tell him, or what are the positive sides I should tell him about the situation that he is both lost his parents and he's very depressed and frustrated, and how can I just help him to see the positive things in it?
Ma'am, in this situation, the cognitive behavioral therapy is quite useful, because, as I told, that it's a very crucial things for him, for his life. He has lost his their parents, mom and dad both, and in these situations, it need to work with the CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, with him, and especially maybe if you are a cognitive, if you are a clinical psychologist specialized in the CBT, you can help in most. But if you you don't have the training in cognitive psychology and cognitive field, or in a clinical setup, then I think, ma'am, you are not going to help him more. It's need more skills.
Okay, sir. Thank you
Yes.
for the answers.
I just want to know who had put up this question, and is she a psychology student or a trained psychologist?
Maybe I asked the question. I'm a psychology student. Yeah.
Okay.
Which year?
Jan sir,
Which year?
Jan sir, can you give some light on this? He is practicing clinical psychologist. He is practicing uh, in this field. I think is the better person who can, I think, give suggestions in this regard.
No,
Jan sir.
no, I am not in the clinical psychologist. I am using the behavior therapist.
Yes.
First of all, the first thing that we have to understand that I don't know who has put the question. I want to know the details about the person who has asked this question. It is very much necessary, actually.
Yes.
Ma'am, it's me, Ania. I have asked the question.
Okay, I couldn't see the highlighted screen. Anyway, Ania, you are the psychology student.
Yeah, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Which year? Which year?
So, ma'am, I'm doing masters in school psychology.
Okay, this is the personal thing that you are facing with the child, and you are taking suggestion for yourself.
No, ma'am. It's like I just encountered a child client who has lost both of the parents, and the aunt of the child has talked about the child with me, and she was asking me that what she can do to make that child, like take him back to the normal life and make him think in a positive way that
Okay, I
although
got your point. Sorry to interrupt you. I got your point. The
yeah,
first
yeah.
thing, it is very much necessary. The only suggestion what you can give to the guardian is that take that child to the professional. She cannot do anything with that child. As sir said that it's not a one single shot that you will tell him and he will understand. It needs sessions. So you have to reach to a CBT expert, one who is expert in cognitive behavior therapy, then only you can resolve this problem. The only suggestion what you can give to that guardian is that you need to seek a professional, a CBT professional.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you for the answer.
Thank you, sir and madam both. One of our participant named as Abu Huraira Prince, he wants to know more about optimal well-being. He wants to know more about optimal well-being.
Dr. Manoj, this is
You can, sir, again face the problem.
In UP, the weather is worse today. We are also facing a lot of network problem.
Similar kind of situation is happening in our country also, madam.
Hello, good evening. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. Please go ahead.
May I do a question?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'm enjoying this session. It's very helpful for students. But my question is about our learning and our education. It's totally a student-based question. As we are living at our home now, sometimes or basically most of the time, so we didn't get a proper environment for our studies. So most of the students feel helpless. I have no environment. I cannot concentrate my study. My exams are coming through online, but I have not enough preparation. So what can I do? How I can cope up with this situation? If I fail in this upcoming examination, it will be a great loss for us. Already we have passed 1.5 years without any promotion. So in this situation, what can a student do, and how they relax themselves, and how they get motivated in this kind of environment?
Yes, I have connected. Just repeat the questions.
May I repeat this question?
Yes, some students are asking about the optimal mental well-being.
Yeah.
Some students are asking about this optimal mental well-being.
Yeah.
Actually, sir, it was the previous question, and she puts another question recently. Optimal mental well-being was the previous feedback. So you can go with her. You can
Yeah,
go with her, and then you can tell about optimal well-being. Miss Jannatul Firdaus, please continue with your question. Please repeat, as our guests were not on that moment.
Okay, we are at home now. Is in the subcontinent, especially Bangladesh or Indian subcontinent. We didn't, we don't get proper environment for study, such as we can concentrate our study at home. So for this reason, some of us or many of us cannot study properly, or but our exam are very near to us, but we didn't complete our study. And how we can be relaxed, or how we just give us motivation. It's okay, but now we can start. I don't know how we can cope up this situation, as we didn't study, or we don't have proper environment.
Hello.
So can you hear us?
Yes, yes, I can hear.
So who was asking the question? Do you need her to repeat it again?
Yes, yes, just repeat.
Can you please? I request the person who was asking the question, can you repeat the question again, please?
Okay, should I repeat now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Uh, it's a basically a student-based question. As we are living at home now, we don't go to our educational institute, and most of us haven't any proper environment for studying our home. So we just get distracted from study, or we get addicted in our phone or social media. Now our exam is coming, but we get panicked as our study is not completed now. So how we can be very relaxed and get motivated from this environment? It's okay, now we should start our study. Or I don't know how to explain this moment, as we are not get promoted 1.5 year if when we think the consequences if we don't study, we don't get promoted in the next year, if we get failed, but we don't study now, we don't get any motivation for study. So in this situation, what a student can do?
Yes, I got it. Your questions, ma'am. This is very important questions regarding in this, and in India we are also facing such things with our childrens. Then in this case, being a parents, we have lots of responsibilities and take care to our childrens. Basically, just like I have a 6 years old daughter, and the time before the COVID-19. She went to schools regularly and very concentrated with her studies. But after the COVID-19, when the school closed and government just instructed us to stay at home, and she start and there's no educations, and also there's no such kind of facilities that we can interact with our teachers, or even we can learn in a physical mode. In that case, my child just start distracting and doing some nonsense things and irritating to us. In that, being a psychologist, we have just used some techniques, and it is our responsibility. It is responsibility of the parents. Suppose the parents, if they have they are literate, they can understand that this is the situation that never come before, and in this situation you need to keep patience, either by ourselves and by our student, by our child level, and we need to make her understand that beta, this is the situations, and in this situation, suppose that you will not concentrate on your study. Okay, the government will pass you and will promote in next class at any level because of this pandemic, and every governments are doing such kind of things. But at the level of your study or your knowledge, you will not gaining anything, and you need to concentrate on the things by just politely, and try to interact with your child by little small things, like never force, and don't force her to just stay and studying more and more because you are because you are staying in a house, and just stay focused on your studies. No, just give her time to think about. If he is quite mature, or his age is quite mature, she can understand what is going on around us. But if she is unmature, and maybe she is around 6, 7, 8 years old, in that case, I don't think she or he can understand the situations. In that time, being a parents, we need to understand him, understand them, that this is situation going on around us, and we can also tell them about the COVID-19. It's a fact, because nowadays through the medias, through the television, newspaper, it all aware. All people are getting news from the different sources, and the children should know about this thing. Once they will just think about it, they can, okay, And also, another thing is that we never force them to just study. Try to just concentrate with the small things, half an hour, 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, okay, play with them. Half an hour, 1 hour. We can increase the time durations. The situation is worse, not for the children, like us too. Do you get it, ma'am?
I think
Yes,
Dr. Manoj,
thank you.
I think Dr. Manoj, there was a lot of problem at your side for the network. Her question was from the student point of view. She is a 22 years old girl, and as a parent, they
Yes.
have their responsibility. But as a student, she's a mature girl, and she is not able to concentrate on her studies. To your answer, I would like to add that first of all, we all have to realize that you are not the only one who is facing the problem. It is a global problem that everybody is facing in every country. Each age group is facing the situations. And secondly, we have to learn the new abnormals in our life and to adapt with that thing. We don't have to worry about the consequences because these consequences are not in our hand, not in anybody's hand, not in a student's hand, not in a teacher's hand, or not in a parent's hand. At your age, at your age, what it is required, the more responsibility comes to your age because you have to take care of the house, of the parent, of yourself by doing learning some skills. And as Dr. Manoj in his presentation has added, there are few relaxation things that should be included in your daily routine. These are breathing exercising, sleeping on time, not worrying about the future, increasing the mindfulness, mostly living in the present, not worrying about the future and not going on the past, what was the life before pandemic. It is a new thing to adapt, and we have to learn to adapt in the new situation, and we have to accept new things in our life. That is why the things are difficult, we are not accepting them. The two things, that is, these are the major thing that we have to accept, that this is not the only thing which is happening with us, it is happening globally. From every part of the continent is affected, every student is affected, whether it is Indian, Bangladeshi, European, American, everybody is in the same boat. And secondly, we have to accept the present situation and we learn to adapt accordingly. Then only we can concentrate. And when it comes to talking about the future of the student, then it is the faculty responsibility to more concentrate on how they will be promoted and how the things will be taken further. It's not your responsibility to think that how will I be promoted. Your responsibility is to concentrate on your daily routines, maintain your good health, mental health, and physical health at your age. Now, both the things are clear. What is the parent's role and what
And
is the student role? At the moment, we are talking
And
about the student,
being a
and when
Thank
parent,
we
you,
are talking
Paramit.
about the parents, and we'll arrange a seminar for the parents too.
and one thing I just need to add, that being a parents, we have the responsibility to take care of our child. Either they are the 22 years or 21 years. We are living in a house, and the students or the children are using mobile maximum because we have no time to interact with them. And this is the time to just interact with them, be a be friend with them, and try to understand them. What is their needs? Why they are getting alone and using mobile and other things? And if you will get interact with them, I think we can understand them too. This is the age of 21 or 22 years. 22 years, and in that age, the people like to sit alone or think alone. But being a parents, we need to interact with them as a friend. Other questions, ma'am?
Yes,
Hello.
one of our participant named Nahian Tarannum had asked two questions, and
Thank you, sir, and Miss, for your valuable answer.
Okay, thank you.
thank you so much. And one of our participant named Nahian Tarannum asked two questions, And her first question was, is it necessary for a regular person to go for routine checkups on his or her mental health? If it is, then how often? And the second question is, what are the consequences of never paying a visit to any professional help despite having the need or being depressed for a long time, like 5 to 6 years?
The first question is okay. There's no need to go regular routine checkup regarding your checking your mental health. If you are feeling, if you are facing some odds in your life, and you are just as we have mentioned in the mental illness, the symptoms of mental illness, and if you are facing such kind of symptoms in your life, you can go. In that case, you can go for a professional help. Okay, there's no need to go regular mental health checkup like our physical health checkup. If you are facing some odd things in your life or having feeling some symptoms of mental illness, then in that case you just go to check up with consult with a professional help. And in the second questions, what are the consequences of never paying or visit to any professional help despite having the need or being depressed for a long time, like 5 to 6 years? In that case, if you are not, if you are thinking and if you are facing some symptoms of depressions for a quite 5 to 6 years, and you are thinking that okay, these are not, and you are not accepting this situation, these things, you are not alone. Many of the peoples are not accepting that they are the mentally ill. Mental illness doesn't mean that you have mental problem at mental level. Okay, like physical health, physical illness, we have some kind of mental illness. We need to accept. Once we will accept, then and again we are once you will accept, then you will go for the professional help. And if you are not, instead of knowing that we have some problems and you are not going to visit some taking some professional help, maybe after maybe in a severe condition you will get affected with some more psychosis problems, maybe the some serious mental health issues with you. Got it?
Yes, sir, got it. Thank you, sir. Sir, I want to ask I want to add to more something on it. That is, may I ask,
Yes, yes.
sir, how logical it is to take the what is said that the symptoms. Is it logical to take that symptoms from Google and do judge on own self? Because sir, is in Bangladesh it is quite impossible for a middle class family to visit a professional help. As what would the society say? What would someone say like this, sir? So, sir, can we check on us from Google?
Not Google. Google is not a professional helper, but suppose that if you know a person who knows about the psychology or who's dealing the psychological cases, you can visit. Now it is the professional health workers and the professional mental health professionals are very common in every cities. Not in India, but I think around the world. And people are now acknowledging the mental health or the psychologist persons having the training in the this cases. And if you can find, you can locate a psychologist or a mental health professionals through the Google. But you don't go the symptoms or the things that is found. You can find that there are many things that is not bogus on the Google. You need to go for an authentic website. And as I seen, there is a in your university there is a program, Dhaka University Health Express, and it is a platform where you can take help from this platform. Being a student, and you can also spread this information to your near and dear, to your friends, that we have such kind of facilities. If you are facing such kind of things, it is very normal, not abnormal, to being a mental to being some symptoms of mental illness. It's a normal things, not abnormal. And it is for preventive. You are talking about the prevention. It's the primary prevention to take. Just take it thing as no, as you can see, and just refer these persons to this platform, the Dhaka University Health Express, or any professional body or institutions where you know. You can find out these places through Google, but don't believe the symptoms or the treatment available on the Google.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so
Got it?
much. Yes, sir.
There is another questions regarding
So I
the
have a question.
xenophobia. Yes,
Am I audible?
yes, yes,
Okay, may I ask?
yes, yes.
Okay, so
You can ask.
during COVID-19 pandemic, we are instructed to conduct social distancing or social isolation. So a direct
Yes.
consequence of this distancing or isolation is that we are getting very much addicted in using different kinds of like social medias like Facebook, Instagram. So sometimes it can be observed that those social medias are spreading negativity. Like we are so influenced by those sites that we start thinking others' life are so beautiful and decorated in comparison of ours. I think it adds more to our disturbance or frustration. So, sir, how can we cope up with this situation, or how can we try to make others understood that life is not all about social media? Actually, all of us knows that we should avoid excessive use of this, but it's a little bit difficult during this COVID situation as our education system are conducted through online. So sometimes it's very much burdensome, or it creates disturbance, excessive use of this online media. So how can just we cope up with this situation?
I have talked with the new kind of well-being, that is the mental well-being. Have you attended it now? Mental well-being. The mental well-being talks about before the mental well-being. I just want to say that the technology have the both the negative and the positive aspect. How we are going to use the technology, it will again increase our well-being or decrease. And as per the digital well-being, it is said that it is a state of personal well-being experiencing through the healthy use of digital technologies. Due to the COVID-19, you are depending on the use of digital technology or the digital gadgets, mobile, laptop, or maximum time online surfing. And in this case, how the digital technology is, we need to think about how digital technology can be healthy to us. Okay, it is a source that how we can have a sense of comfort, safety, satisfaction, and fulfillment. Okay, then technology serve as toward again, I just said that technology have both the points. It can affect us negatively, it can affect positively. We need to think about, if you are quite mature, then we can think that the technology you need to use. We not go to the addicted. Many people are using social media like Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and they spend their maximum time on that. You know what will be going to happen? We are using you are spending maximum time on digital screen, and after a certain time it will affect our the physical as well as mental health. Physical, eyesight may be problem, maybe there is a problem of eyesight. Mental level, we can get irritation, other things. Suppose that after getting normal and the parents don't allow to use the mobile, in that case you are addicted to use the mobile, and now you are not able to get the mobile, and parents stop saying that, oh, don't use the mobile. Now it's a normal thing. How will you cope up with this? Then we don't need to get addicted, and we need to think about that. We don't need to get addicted. If you get addicted, then again in that case, now it's a very common, maybe after the COVID-19, the many people will suffer from this digital addiction disorders. And again, in that case, you need to visit a professional to just cope up with these addictions. Got it?
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
And one person has talked about the xenophobia. He wants to know more about the xenophobia. Xenophobia is the fear or hatred of that which is perceived to be foreign or stranger. Anything that is perceived, just like COVID-19, the COVID is not come from India or Bangladesh or the other countries. We all get know that it is come from the China. That in that case, it is a kind of phobia in which a person perceive the foreign things or strangers as a object of fear or hatred. It is an expression of perceived conflict between an in-group and out-group, and may manifest in suspicious by one of the other activities, a desire to eliminate their presence, and fear of losing national, ethnic or racial identity. Got it? Any
Yes,
other
sir.
question?
Thank you so much. We're going to take one more question.
Yeah.
Just from Janatul Firdaus, how to cope with the feeling very sad or withdrawn from everything and not finding any kind of motivation to do anything or productive for a long period of time.
Yes. In this case, suppose that you are feeling very sad, withdrawn from everything, and not finding any kind of motivation or positive energy to do anything or productive for a long time. This is why they need to find out the cause why these situations come. Maybe due to the present scenario, is just fed up with the system, fed up with the things, and there is the pessimistic approach. Just the symptoms of pessimistic thinking is just caught with some pessimistic thinking, and there is a lack of positive energy in you, and it is because of maybe you can just do something, just concentrate to work on some things. You just engage yourself in some physical activities, talk to your friends either virtually, either if you can contact with them physically by using the social distancing norms or protocols. You can meet with them, talk to your parents, talk to your friends, because you are going to some negative side of your life that is not further good for you. Once we get interaction with the other people and try to talk with the people who can motivate you, you can take also the help of some professional persons. You can take some counseling sessions regarding it. That will be helpful to you. Okay, anything else?
Okay,
hello,
we're going to take one more question. Faria Khandokaresha, please.
Thank you so much for giving me the chance of asking question to a professional like Mr. Manoj Kumar sir. Nowadays, most of us are staying at home and having quarrels with our parents and siblings, as we all possess different point of view. So most of the time, we can't share our problems with each other, that how we feel and things that are bothering us the most, as we all have different family setup, different parenting styles. And this situation is increasing our automatic negative thoughts and making us judgmental. So in this case, how can we deal with the family hardiness and support ourselves and our family members' mental well-being during this pandemic?
There's an important thing here, the family environment, how the family environment is you are facing. Suppose I don't know what is the age of yours and this problem you are facing or someone other facing. Hello, Faria?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This situation you are facing or someone other facing?
Sir, yes. I am also facing this situation and some of my friends too.
Okay. How's your relationship with the parents?
My family is very conservative and we don't share any situation in our home.
What about your friends?
Some of them have the same situation like me.
Okay, then they don't have the situation like you.
Some have and some haven't.
Okay, some have. Okay.
Yeah.
Again, this is the due to the family environment, and nowadays there are the two kinds of the family. One is the conservative, and one is the just they are just thinking independently, or the other type of family. They encourage their children to talk to them and express their feelings. And I think you are not able to express your things with your family. Maybe some reasons behind that. Maybe you have some fear or with your parents or your mother, but you can talk, try to talk with them. Once you will try to talk with them, you just try to understand, make them understand that mom or dad, I'm facing such kind of things and I need your help. This has happened because of you're not able to talk to your parents due to the family environment. And the environment is not facilitating to interact to each others. You are not expressing to your parents, and this is the situation. And in that case, you need to make either your father, your parents, sorry, either father or mother, or your brother, or maybe your grandparents, if you have. You can talk to them, and you just say that, mom or dad, I am facing such kind of things. I need to talk with them, talk to them, or you can write a letter. If you can't, if you can't talk to them directly, you can write a letter and post it to them. Another thing is that you can talk to your friends. As you told that your some of the your friends are facing such things, and some of friends are not facing such things. The only one way is that you need to talk to your parents, either verbally or non-verbally. Verbally, you can express yourself. Okay. In which class
Yes,
you are
sir.
studying?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
In which class you are studying? Huh?
I'm doing my post graduation.
Post graduation. It means you are I think 22 or 23 years old.
Yes, yes.
And you are facing such things. I think since your childhood.
Yes, since my childhood.
Yes. In that case, you need to talk. Maybe anyone, maybe your parents, maybe your grandparents, maybe your uncle or auntie, to whom you can trust, or to whom you can talk.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Otherwise you need to take maybe if you want to do it on self, you need to take some sessions with your some professional person regarding it. But the better thing is that maybe the mental health professional or counselors, they will try to enable you to just be expressive with your parents. Maybe after 2 or 3 years, they will get you will get married. After the post graduation or after research, maybe you will get married. In that case, the situation will still remain, and it will affect your future life. Maybe your interpersonal relationship with your spouse. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Any other question?
We'll be taking our last question. Rumana
Yes.
Akhtar Nupur has raised her hand. So Rumana Akhtar Nupur, please go ahead with your question, and that will be the last question for today's question and answer session.
Sorry, that was wrongly.
Okay, it's okay. So it seems that our participants have no more questions. So we are at the end of our workshop. I want to thank all the participants as well as our workshop facilitator, Dr. Manoj Kumar Pandey sir. Today is his birthday. Happy birthday to you, sir. And I also want to thank our Nurture Life Bangladesh Executive Team, Farah Sarosh ma'am, founder of Nurture Life. At last but not the least, I want to thank Mr. Julius Caesar Talukdar, founder of Dhaka University Health Express, for partnering with us. We are privileged to do such kind of workshop with the students of Dhaka University. Now I would like to request Farah Sarosh ma'am, founder Nurture Life, to say something about today's session.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rabbi. Thank you so much, Dr. Manoj, for such an insightful session. And I think in a very short span of time, you have covered everything what is required as a first-hand tool to all these students. And to all the students, I would like to inform you that we have helpline numbers. I'll share it with Mr. Rabbi. They will share it with you. These are all free online WhatsApp numbers. You can connect to any of the professional you require at the moment, because there is one girl who desperately needs somebody to help her. She is so much what should I say, trapped in her situation, that we should all help her to get out of that trap. Because as Dr. Manoj said, that if it is not treated at the moment, then it is going to create problems in the future. So I would like to add one thing again, that we have helpline numbers. They are free. You are free to call us. I'll provide my number. You can connect to me. I'll connect you to experts, and we are always there to help you. You are not alone. Our effort to create a chapter over there is that you all should open up. There is nothing to bottle up inside you. You have to open up. This is your life, and you are supposed to live it with confidence, respect, and maturity. And in that thing, you all need to have a good mental health. As Dr. Manoj repeatedly said and used the term mental health well-being. This is not a very common term which you oftenly hear it or we use it, but it is very much required after the pandemic, that we are all supposed to concentrate on mental health well-being by following the proper routine, proper thought process. And somewhere if we find that we are facing some difficulty in our thought process, then we are here, the professionals are here to help you, to get you out from the struggle. And always remember that untreated mental health leads to mental illness. It's not that when we talk about mental health, it's all about the illnesses. It's all about the thought process. And everybody knows, and I think most of the psychology students are here, they know that in day to day, our mind generate around 50,000 thoughts. And we need to, what should I say, we need to arrange that thoughts in a positive manner. And this is the skill we have to learn. For that, we have professionals. We have Mr. Rabbi in Bangladesh. We have around a team of 30 people there working for you people. We have established this team for you people so that we can help you to come out from your mental health struggles. Every life is precious, and we are here to help you. And I would really like to appreciate Mr. Talukdar to taking this step and bringing it forward, bringing all the students on this platform and giving them the area to open up. And I was really happy to see that the girls were coming up with their problems. They had that courage, and we all need that courage to open up. Thank you once again, Mr. Talukdar. Thank you once again, Dr. Manoj, for such an insightful session. Dr. Jayan, for your presence, and the whole Bangladesh team. Kudos to you, guys. You have done a very good job. Congratulations. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. And we want to conclude the session. Now I am requesting Mr. Julius Caesar Talukdar, founder of Dhaka University Health Express, to conclude the session by his speech. Now it's over to you, Mr. Talukdar.
Thank you, Reza Rabbi, for giving me a time. First of all, I want to wish Mr. Manoj Kumar Pandey a happy birthday, sir. Many best wishes from Dhaka University to you. And finally,
I want to interrupt you. Sir, there is another birthday boy here. Jayan sir is also having a birthday today.
This is a coincidence.
Jayan sir has.
Okay, happy birthday, happy birthday.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Our session was a nice session. Already some participants given some feedbacks, and they enjoyed it. And I hope within a very short time we will arrange another program. And I want to let you know that when we decided about this workshop, and I just posted on Facebook about this, and within 2 hours we received 600 respondents, and we have taken only 70 people from 600 applicants, and rest of the applicants will participate in next programs. Hope we will get you. And Parash, we have talked on Messenger already. And thank you so much for creating this nice organization. And I hope you will enjoy our partnership. In future, we will work together. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Evo, and all the participants participated in this program today. I hope you have enjoyed this, and if you have further questions, if you have further queries, please let us know. We will answer through mail. Thank you so much.